I constantly tell you, and I've been telling people for years, years, that one of the big things that the UK is and always will be, or at least has very much become, very much since the 80s, is we are a service-based economy. Meaning that as many Brexiteers would dream to bring back the days of manufacturing, that would take decades to do and at least have some serious economic plan in order to sort of bring back manufacturing to the UK. But the government isn't really interested in that. And instead, we have an entire economy, 80% of it, by the way, is based in the services industry. So you would think any reasonable government, given whatever political credo they are, would at this moment in time be giving the service industry some serious thought and consideration to sort of the future growth of the UK. How can we sort of spread this, wealth around that the service industry creates? Where can we help the service industry thrive just, outside of London? And, there's all sorts of stuff, economic strategies and stuff like that you could think of to sort of to help this happen. But of course, as you may very well observed in the past couple of weeks, it's very, very evident that we are currently in the grip of a government that is being run by absolute clowns. And even worse when you consider the fact that Liz Truss could very well become our next Prime Minister, and her answer is to basically create special tax zones, whatever form these are going to take. Unfortunately, I think these may very well be charter cities, and heaven help us all if that turns out to be the case. So today we're going to go into this very interesting article that have come from City AM, because it's come from a lobbying group that's very much based in the service industry that goes, hold on a second, guys. Why are we, the service industry, who make up 80% of the UK's economy, having to fight so hard with the government to try and be basically anywhere, even in these trade deals? And that's incredibly worrying when the government is ignoring 80% of these, of our essentially makes up a significant proportion of where the government gets its GDP from. So let's go into here and what they have to say. And yeah, it's yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I hope you're ready for Prime Minister Truss, guys, because I'm not. Yeah. So anyway, before we do get into this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a after link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. So over we go to City AM with their article called UK Services Hamstrung by Bizarre Neglect in Trade Policy, Lobby Group says. The UK's service sector is being hamstrung by political neglect and a lack of attention in trade policy, a top city group has warned today. It's kind of funny because I think if you could rewind the clock maybe 10, maybe 20 years ago, I bet you could find a very similar article, probably written by another British, manufacturing lobbying group, probably with the same words in today. In fact, you could probably change word for word of service industry with manufacturing sectors, and it would probably be very, very similar. Nicola Watkinson, the managing director of the International Trade and Investment at Industry Group at the City UK, said it was a little bizarre that the UK service industry still had to fight for visibility and inclusion in trade policy, despite making up some 80% of economic output. And this is primarily because no one in the Tory party has a general clue what to do about this. And remember, we've had Liz Truss in this. So this is directly from there. Penny Mordaunt, Anne-Marie Trevelyan, and who knows who's going to take over after her for that. But yeah, it's not going to be a good continuation, whoever comes in next. Anyway, they continued on to say, the trade goods offer a better photo opportunities, and customers find it easier to understand their importance, she told City AM. The government and businesses need to do more to show people how businesses and consumers rely on service trade every day. Over 85% of our financial services are now delivered digitally. This is a huge area of growth that needs to be captured in trade policy. The financial and professional services are accounted for some 80% of the UK economic output in 2018, and earned a trade surplus of over 117 billion pounds, which has ballooned to over 119 billion pounds post-Brexit, according to research from think tank UK in a Changing Europe. And bear in mind, we've actually been currently, because there isn't too much change in regulation, the service industry has been somewhat been able to continue its trade with Europe, because mostly these trades aren't in, as we said before, aren't in physical goods. So there's no sort of barrier for them to cross yet. That could all change soon, though. Watkins said that the UK's competitive advantage lies in its financial and professional service sectors, and ministers need to publicly recognise and celebrate the contribution that the UK's international financial centre makes to UK jobs and growth. The government has been looking to breathe new life into the UK service industry this year in the long-awaited Financial Services and Markets Bills unveiled last week, in a bid to scrap a swathe of EU regulation and ignite a second Big Bang in the city. And that is, by the way, I am very, very much opposed to this, because what it essentially amounts to is a massive scrapping of protections and regulations that keep sort of the financial industry in check. Remember, a lot of these regulations were put in post the 2008 financial crash to stop these governments and banks doing what they were doing, which led to the financial crash. But unfortunately, just as in America, while we did some very, very arguably very sort of weaker source, financial regulation, much of it, of course, did come from the EU, but at least they set a limit. Other countries in many countries, they went a lot further with their sort of new financial regulation following the 2008 crash. But we are certainly going to see a step back. And ultimately, what is going to happen is, once this regulation takes off, there will probably be this, quote, Big Bang, but it's only going to affect the city. And that's a massive problem, because you need to start spreading wealth out from the City of London to the rest of the country. That desperately needs to happen. But anyway, it continues. So the concerns have grown in the city that the regulatory reform agenda may be blown off, certainly off course, by the recent political turmoil. The City UK has called for prospective Tory leaders to now shift the service sector to the top of its agenda as it looks to strike new trade deals going forward, saying prioritising trade agreements with those countries that are likely to secure the greatest economic benefits for the UK, put trade in services at the heart of those negotiations, she has said. This group has called on the new leaders to set an ambitious target for the UK to regain its position as the world's leading international finance sector and implement a swathe of reform in trade policy, including the removal of equality caps in joint venture requirements. With the group that said that hampers investments from the UK based on financial institutions to invest in overseas markets. That's very worrying. I'm sort of very much against that, because here's the thing, guys. You want to go and take money from the UK and spend it over in UK markets. Ironically, something that a lot of the Brexiteers said that they didn't want back in 2016. And I said very recently in another video that, Brexit and the vote for Brexit would be used as justification to fulfill stuff like that. But of course, this is another thing that the Brexiteers didn't even, or at least have refused to sort of recognize. The fact that the UK has changed. The fact that we are now a service-based economy. We aren't a manufacturing one. And it's not to say that we can't bring manufacturing back. It would be incredibly difficult to do, and you would actually have to have a serious economic plan, not just one that would sort of go, well, we've got this plan, we might follow it, we might not. There's yeah, and trust me, if we're getting Truss back in, and she said that she wants to sort of recommit to Northern Powerhouse Rail, back to the sort of the Liverpool Hull line that would go straight across the country, which would be a massive economic boost, because we need that type of infrastructure, certainly in the north. I think that is a very empty promise. She was part of the government. She didn't really speak up about it when it got cancelled. I think that is just a promise to try and win the voters, certainly in the north. I am not expecting her to follow through on that. If she does, well, okay. But then again, I will be very skeptical, short to say, see it be fully funded. Or if not, another white paper comes out and says, oh yes, we're fulfilling this promise, but it's only this tiny bit of line that we're going to not build new, just upgrade. And again, we're fulfilling our promises of the Northern Powerhouse Rail, but you promised a complete brand new line from Liverpool to Hull, going straight across the country. But yeah, anyway, back to this. So yeah, as we said before, we are a service sector economy jobs, and of course, the big thing being a service sector, the main countries that buy from a service sector in particular are those what are dubbed advanced economies. And of those advanced economies, the vast majority of which, by the way, are in the EU, you've only got Canada, America, Japan, Australia, New Zealand outside, and Israel. So that's 6 outside sort of that zone. So unless you are basically going to say ditch the trade with those advanced economies that are in the EU and solely rely on the others, then what regulations are you going to ditch? Because some of those are pretty damn important. And I recently watched The Big Short, which, trust me, definitely deserves a watch. Very, very interesting to show you just what a mess like the mortgage and the financial market really was in the lead up to the 2008 financial crash. Trust me, it makes for very, very scary watching. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a notification link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.